Good evening. Sometimes you will never know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. Welcome to BMC News Live English. Myself, Shina Sultana, joining you with the daily news updates. Today's headlines.
Bahrain updates travel entry procedures. Expired visas of Dubai residents extended until November 9th, UAE announced. Saudi Arabia approves Sinovac and Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccines. Saudi Arabia allows entry of fully vaccinated expats from countries facing travel ban. Kuwait approves emergency use of Ronapreve to treat COVID-19.
The Civil Aviation Affairs has updated the Kingdom of Bahrain's travel entry procedures at Bahrain International Airport has been updated to include an acceptance of vaccination certificates issued by countries whose citizens are eligible for a visa and an additional PCR test to be conducted on the 5th day of stay, starting from Sunday 29th August 2021. For non-red list countries, vaccinated passengers applies to conduct a PCR test upon arrival, conduct a PCR test on the 5th day after arrival, conduct a PCR test on the 10th day after arrival, neither presenting a PCR test before boarding the plane nor quarantining upon arrival is required. All vaccinated passengers aged 6 years and above who have an approved vaccination certificate from countries that are eligible to obtain on an arrival visa, present an approved PCR certificate before boarding the plane, administered within 72 hours of departure, conduct a PCR test upon arrival, conduct a PCR test on the 5th day after arrival, conduct a PCR test on the 10th day after arrival. No need to quarantine. Travelers are encouraged to review their eligibility for on-arrival visas by visiting the following link www.evisa.gov.bh. Non-vaccinated passengers and passengers without vaccine certificates recognized by the Kingdom of Bahrain present an approved PCR certificate with a QR code before boarding the plane, administered within 72 hours of departure. Conduct a PCR test upon arrival. Quarantine for a period of 10 days at your residence or at a quarantine center licensed by the NHRA, National Health Regulatory Authority. Conduct a PCR test on the 5th day after arrival. Conduct a PCR test on the 10th day after arrival. For red list countries, passengers arriving from red list countries, including passengers who have transited those countries at any point in the last 14 days, are prohibited from entry unless they are citizen or resident of Bahrain. All vaccinated or unvaccinated passengers aged 6 years and above arriving from red list countries who are allowed to enter the Kingdom of Bahrain are to follow the below procedures. Present an approved PCR certificate with a QR code before boarding the plane, administered within 48 hours of departure. Conduct a PCR test upon arrival. Quarantine for a period of 10 days at your residence or at a quarantine center licensed by the NHRA. Conduct a PCR test on the 5th day after arrival. Conduct a PCR test on the 10th day after arrival. Bahrain yesterday recorded 88 new COVID-19 cases alongside 120 recoveries and no fatalities, the Health Ministry said. Of the new cases, 26 were expatriate workers, 45 contacts of local cases and 17 travel related. Passengers traveling to Abu Dhabi on or before August 27th must register on the Federal Authority for Identity and Citizenship (ICA) platform as early as possible, Etihad said on its website. Those flying after August 27th must register on the platform 5 days before their flight, the carrier said. The guidelines does not apply to UAE nationals or passengers transited through Abu Dhabi, it added. To register, visit the ICA website. Now we shall come back after a small break.
Every piece of jewelry tells a story. Its raw beauty speaks of its natural origins. The brilliant design speaks of unparalleled craftsmanship. Its elegance evokes the passion and energy of those who wear it. At Al Siraj Jewelry, our story, our pride.
Welcome back. The UAE's Knowledge and Human Development Authorities have decided to increase the school bus capacity to 100% as part of its back-to-school protocols. As per the KHDA protocol released on Monday, if possible, each student should be given a designated pre-assigned seat. All schools must refer to the Road and Transport Authority (RTA) guidelines for further detail on the management of COVID-19 protocols. Anyone entering the bus should undergo temperature screening. A person with a temperature above 37.5 degrees Celsius should not be allowed on the bus. All bus passengers, with the exception of children younger than 6, must wear masks. Records of all bus passengers should be maintained daily and absences recorded. Dubai has extended the expiry date of Dubai-issued UAE resident visas which have expired or will expire between April 2021 and November 9, 2021. The expiry date has been extended to November 10, 2021. According to a new statement on Fly Dubai's website, the General Directorate of Residency and Foreigners Affairs (GDRFA) has extended the expiry date of Dubai-issued UAE resident visas for nationals of India, Nepal, Nigeria, Pakistan, Sri Lanka and Uganda who are stranded outside of the UAE. This applies to Dubai-issued UAE resident visas which have expired or will expire between April 2021 and November 9, 2021 inclusive. The expiry date will not be extended for UAE residents with Dubai-issued visas who have stayed outside of the UAE for more than 6 months if they left before October 20th, 2020. The statement says further the status of Dubai-issued resident visas can be checked on their website. Private schools in Sharjah must close and shift to distance learning temporarily if 2 or more cases are detected among students or education staffs. The protocol advice came as Sharjah Private Education Authority issued extensive guidelines to help prevent the spread of COVID-19 during the new academic year. Staffs and parents are obligated to inform the school if positive cases are detected. Infected students must follow the prescribed quarantine conditions, and parents must inform the school if students are vulnerable or fall under high-risk categories. The capacity of school buses has been increased to 75% according to the authority, and schools must use stickers on bus seats to ensure physical distancing in line with guidelines. Canteens will also be permitted to operate provided they undergo sterilization on the hour. Saudi Arabia has approved the Sinovac and Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccines, Arab News reported. The Saudi Health Ministry said it was possible for those who had completed their vaccination program with Sinopharm and or Sinovac to enter the kingdom, provided they have received a boosted shot of a vaccine that was approved in the country. The kingdom has already approved the Oxford AstraZeneca, Pfizer BioNTech, Johnson & Johnson and Moderna for use in the country. Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Interior announced on Tuesday that fully vaccinated expats will be allowed direct entry from countries facing travel ban. The new decision will be applicable only to expats with a valid residency permit (IQAMA) and left the kingdom on exit and re-entry visa after taking 2 doses of vaccine against COVID-19 from Saudi Arabia. Currently, the countries facing travel ban are India, Pakistan, Indonesia, Egypt, Turkey, Argentina, Brazil, South Africa, United Arab Emirates, Ethiopia, Vietnam, Afghanistan and Lebanon. All other travelers are required to spend 14 days in quarantine in a third country before entry into the country. Kuwait approved the emergency use of Ronapreve, an antibody treatment developed by Regeneron and Roche to prevent and treat COVID-19. Kuwait Times on Monday cited the health ministry as saying, "The drug has been shown to effective in reducing the likelihood of COVID-induced hospitalizations," Kuwait's Ministry of Health Assistant Undersecretary for Drug Control Dr. Abdullah Al-Badr said, according to KT. Ronapreve belongs to a class of drugs called monoclonal antibodies, which mimic natural antibodies produced by the body to fight off infections. The drug is not intended to be used as a substitute for vaccination, the MHRA said. The decision came after a review of clinical trial data showed the drug may be used to prevent and treat acute COVID-19 infections, the KT reported. The new academic year in Oman will begin on September 12th as more students and teaching staffs get vaccinated and new COVID-19 infections are on the decline, local media reported. According to the Ministry of Education, the school resumptions will be conditional on strict adherence of COVID-19 protocol. The academic year will end on July 7th, 2022. For grades 1 to 6, a blended education system, a combination of in-person and online classes will be followed. Low-density schools with no more than 20 students in a class will follow the direct education system in which students attend classes on all school days. As for grades 7 to 11, the traditional education system will be followed. However, schools with over 30 students to a class will follow the blended education system. Meanwhile, grade 12 will also follow the traditional education system. The Sultanate ended the last academic year early in May following a spike in coronavirus infections. The new decision was based on the latest epidemiological situation as COVID-19 infections in the country saw significant decline. With this, we come to the end of today's news. Stay tuned for daily news updates in BMC News Live English at 7:30 p.m. Thank you so much for watching. Signing off by Shina Sultana. Good night.